name is Mimi, and the bin lorry is right outside, so it's really noisy. I am in Berlin wedding, and I'm gonna record my podcast now after this. Hello, welcome to the Yarnchix Podcast. My name is Mimi. I wander the streets, and I write in the beautiful city of Berlin. Our specific area of Berlin is called Berlin Wedding. That is also why my Instagram handle is Liebwed. Lieb refers to dear or love, and wed to wedding, so it's kind of like a love letter that I write to my home or my life. You know, Instagram is a bit of an archive, so when I first set out, I thought I was gonna archive glimpses of this amazing little multicultural and beautifully run down political working class area, which has had a bit more attention in the recent years, and I still hope gentrification stays away. I wrote a really nice little piece about it recently. Just go to the colourful houses on my Instagram. Well, I say beautiful, well, kind of like my writing. I spend a lot of time on it. I'm also working on the next Yarnchix zine, which will have the overall theme of Dotter, a very nice German word. It means the egg yolk, and for me it is like the core of life, like the core of the egg. I guess you'll just have to see what happens with that zine. It's coming. I'm very excited, kind of chugging away at it. And very new thing is I'm teaching 3 workshops in Switzerland at the Swiss Yarn Fest at the end of February, so at the end of this month. So I'm preparing these workshops, and all my workshops always have a little handout, so I'm working away on them, and I'm really enjoying that. Today I'm inviting you to find out about my finished objects and my current knitting projects. I invite you to sit with me and talk all about my Tink Brexit project. And yeah, for now I want to give you a little visual glimpse in, and I hope also a chance for you to grab your knitting, your crochet, your sewing, and a cup of tea whilst I kind of share a bit of a visual intro. frogging, which is also the title of this podcast episode, Unknitting Brexit. I know it's impossible, but we can try. I'm married to a Brit and we are both Europeans at heart and living in Berlin. Obviously, we have a huge European community of friends and family, and we are very touched by this. It kind of affects us on so many levels that around the Brexit date in October, I started tinking Brexit, which was I created lots of swatches. Tinking. Tink is knit spelt backwards, so it's basically knitting backwards around doing. But I kind of wanted to go forward as well, so I made lots of swatches and said I really need a project that will bridge me through this Brexit phase, and still trying to unknit in ways like, you know, swatches you might unknit. And I'll show you the swatch that ultimately won first prize for sweater. It was kind of a really tight draw, but the swatch that I was drawn to the most from those two is the soiree sweater, where I use a blue indigo dyed yarn from Schiller's Deer, which is a yarn company on the Outer Hebrides, so it comes from all the way up in Scotland. And I am very excited to start that, and you would have seen glimpses of this sweater being unknit because I made a huge mistake, so I had to undo everything I'd done. So I then cast on. So my tink Brexit, apart from 2 balls of yarn that are kind of disheveled and balled up, I guess, is this cast on. That's how far I am with that. So sometimes we've got to go forward to go backwards. Side effect was I got to measure the width, and it will be 130 centimeters. So I'll definitely have 30 centimeters positive ease, which is what Emily Foden, the designer of the soiree sweater, suggests for this pattern. She says a 20 to 30 centimeter positive ease. I hope I have enough yarn. I've got 6 skeins of the Schiller's Deer, and I think 1 skein will give me about that much. So, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, I think it'll be just fine. Hence, I swatched in the round, and I'm keeping this swatch like a yarn store because this is kind of storage. I do not want to run out of yarn, and I might actually need to unravel the swatch. Oh, and this was also the second swatch. The first time I swatched with the suggested needle size, which is a 4.5 millimeter. And then I decided I wanted a looser gauge because I didn't want it to go all stiff. It's quite a boxy sweater, and I didn't want it to become this kind of solid front because it's quite a lot of stockinette, and if it would have been too stiff, I don't know, I wouldn't have really liked that. I want it to have a bit more flow and movement, so I'm now knitting it on a complete different gauge. Not a problem because I just chose the very smallest size, then made my big mistake, so I had a big swatch to measure, and it looks like perfectly fine. So I'm knitting the smallest size, whereas usually I would have knitted the 3rd size. And I just adjust the gauge. It kind of works out, you know, you have your measurements here and know what 10 centimeters will be, and so you can at least roughly guesstimate. You can also sit down and do all the maths and graphs. You can guesstimate what kind of circumference you will reach with the amount of stitches for whatever size. So I chose the smallest size. I'm very happy that I didn't just frog it, I also cast it on. So I can carry on with my Tink Brexit project, which is 2 which, where is it? Where, so, Tink Brexit, I will not only cast on this Canadian designer's pattern, first published in Pom Pom, then in her book Knits About Winter. Emily Foden is an indie dyer from Canada. I really love her work. I really like her. And yeah, I'm kind of happy to have this Scottish yarn with the mohair. I'm adding a silk mohair thread from my work. I bought it at Wollen, Berlin, with my Christmas lolly. Yeah, so I'm not just casting that on, but also the Azor sweater. And I'm using this La Bien-Aimée Mondim collaboration. The sweater is a design by Orlan Sush, who's tête bêche, and she is currently hosting the Knitting with Orlan knit-along, and so I decided to join that because, you know, both these sweaters in the Tink Brexit project, one cast on time, which was dedicated for me to kind of start right after that first Brexit date, but since Brexit date has come around, like the real one, I might as well start now and keep knitting and unraveling and knitting, because I do make a lot of mistakes. I will always knit backwards and forwards. I really like this color. It's called Grello, and I first bought this. It actually was the first yarn I bought at EYF last year, so around a year ago, with my birthday money. My friend had given me, well, all my friends and family had given me money for a blue sweater, and I got an extra envelope which said, that skein of yarn that you wouldn't buy yourself, but you can buy with this. So I bought this with that special envelope. La Bien-Aimée dyeing on Mondim yarn is a really lovely collaboration, but I guess the product or artwork that it kind of brings out in the end is relatively pricey. I think you pay 30 euros for a skein like this, and so it was a great treasure, and it needs kind of celebrating, it needs underlining. I do hope that the Azor sweater is the right move. Also, I chose a slightly thicker yarn for the main color, so I'll keep you posted here. For now, this is kind of my yarn shrine feature with this beautiful skein, and I will hand wind it. It's kind of, I enjoy that, and I enjoy that kind of a yarn cake when it's hand wound. Azor by Orlan Sush. Very excited. What else? I should really be sharing some finished objects now. I haven't got much, but I'm gonna show what I have. I made these yoga socks for my sister for her birthday, and I'm about to send them off, so I'm very happy that I get to show them just before sending them. Yoga socks are basically socks, they're or kind of leg warmer type of socks, and this part is kept, well, I kind of knitted a hole and then cast on again for the heel, and then this is for the front of the foot, and you keep those bare feet so that you don't slip or slide when you're practicing yoga. And yeah, this color and the sizing was adjusted when I last saw her, and yeah, it was really nice to show and share, and also determine the kind of the length of the sock part with her trying them on, which was lovely. She lives further away, so it's always a treat to see each other and hang out with family, and I'm very happy that I finished them. My daughter liked them so much that she asked me to knit her a pair. And she chose this very colourful yarn, which is Opal sock yarn, Freche Freunde. I will knit them very, well, the same length, because I'm thinking leg warmer kind of sizing. There's not much left, and then I can start the ribbing. She now said, oops, she now, where did it go? She now realised that this yarn is a little bit more, how do you call it, rustic compared to this very nice, Studio Mez self-striping yarn. I forgot to say, the Studio Mez is it has this shine. I wonder if it's got viscose or bamboo or something inside it. It has a bit more of a silky shine. I really love this self-striping. This is a bit more rustic, more, it has more itch to it. So she said, oh, she wear them over socks, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna carry on knitting them, and then if they're not for her, I'm gonna keep them for myself, and then make her a pair, because I've still got a little ball about this size left of this self-striping yarn, and I thought I could at least just knit up until here self-striping, and if I knit them for my daughter, maybe I will make them a bit shorter, and then make the kind of twisted rib part in another colour. So I'll keep you posted about that. I'm very excited. So finished object, cast on right away. And another finished object is again a present. This one is for my daughter. I guess because it's black yarn, it's really hard to see. This is the St. James cap, a design by Francesca Hughes, and I knitted it in John Arbin Knit by Numbers. They're black. I mean, it's a solid black. I love it. I like the John Arbin mill, and I kind of like the combination of Francesca's pattern with their yarn because she works there. So, you know, they have all these connection points, and I reckon she designed, if I remember right, she designed the St. James cap along a hat that John was wearing in the mill often. It's a very traditional design, and you can kind of fold up this brim like so. And I'm not sure if I made my brim a bit too short. I don't know what happened. I made the kid size and it kind of looks tiny now. Oh, I will knit it again. It was going to be a Christmas present and for my youngest, who said her favorite color is black, and she wanted like a very, very intensely deep dark black beanie. I like it. I have one in green for myself and it really suits her. I wish she'd just said, oh, I want a green one, but it is her favorite color, so I knitted it slowly, and I'm blocking it with this nice balloon fella in order to really stretch out this very wide rib. There's a left stitch here in every 10 stitches, and then the decreases happen in between there. I'm not even sure if you can see any of this, but yeah, I'm hoping that now it'll fit, because when we tried it on, it was a bit tight. I must say my St. James cap is now very wide, so with time it loosened up and it's now relatively big. So in a way it is good that it's small now. I'm hoping with blocking and then with time it'll be a perfect fit. I reckon she will wear it with this folded down. And I reckon I might have made this too short. But there might be a next time. If this wasn't a successful hat for her, I will have to knit it again. So finished object. Does it work like this? Squeezed it. a little kind of, ah my god, there was a knit along for Tink and Knit, so which is perfect for me. I got out my Tink and Flex sweater for, I guess you can notice, according to colour, for the same child in my family, and I had knitted the body and everything, and then seen that it was too tightly cast off and it was slightly too short, so I extended and fixed that mistake. It was very painful because I'd done a sewn bind off, and to unravel that took a lot of patience. So this was actually one of my other Tink Brexit projects, which I just decided to cast on. There was no swatching involved. Basically the ribbing was the swatch, and I was like, I'm gonna go for it with this one. The flax sweater has this garter stitch design feature all over the sleeve, but you will maybe be able to see that I stopped it. I decided that I just want it on top of the shoulder, and then I want like normal straight sleeves, because I reckon that's something that my child is going to be more likely to wear. I'm always kind of in this balance of, is this going to be accepted? Is this going to be worn? The yarn is super soft and just awesome. It is wool cut yarns, Opus, in their very, very dark grey, black. And I decided to have this red ribbing on the neck, and this is going to be the same finish for the sleeves. And I started one sleeve, which is really good going, and I'm joining Woolwork, the Woolwork, I'll put her Instagram and the knit along hashtag here. I'm joining that for the last 2 weeks because Valentine's is cast off day, and I'm sure people were much more involved than me, but I'm gonna just jump on and use it as a little kind of incentive to push me through. Other knit alongs or make alongs I'm joining is the Stash Down Together Mal, which is really lovely, hosted by Fran. There's already quite a lot of chatter in the Ravelry group, and I'm super excited to join with more of my kind of whips and stash treats. Any of the projects I've shown to you now would have been stashed yarns that have reappeared and have been unpacked. But the main project I wanted to show and share, and again there's not much to show for it, is this Star of a Blanket project, where I will be using my sock yarn leftovers from these 2 sock yarn leftovers were from last winter, and then I'll just add in, whenever I finish a sock, I will add in whatever yarn remains of that project, and carry on knitting this striped spiral blanket. It's not a big blanket yet, it's just like this tiny square, and I'm thinking about unraveling whatever I've knitted with this, because I didn't really do a nice line, or I might keep it, but there's definitely a little mistake of how I knitted it together here, because basically what you do is you knit a certain number of stitches, and then you have short rows to get you around corners, and then you always kind of knit it onto the sides of your project. And I think I didn't do slip stitches on the sides, so it's not as neat as in the original photographs. It is a Elizabeth Zimmermann technique to do this kind of these mirrored corners for a blanket for geometric shapes, so I will just double check. And I got that pattern out from her book, The Opinionated Knitter, which is a collection of her newsletters. I love that. It's such a great source book. A present I gave myself Christmas 2018, and I've only really started delving in, but it's amazing, super helpful and really fun texts by Elizabeth herself, and photos of her family, because you always use her family as models. It's quite cute. And then I found the blanket pattern on Ravelry, which basically uses her technique. It's called the 10 stitch blanket. It uses the Elizabeth Zimmerman kind of taking corner technique to for a kind of simple spiral blanket. And I'm going to use sock yarns. I haven't come far. This is from my first pair that I knitted myself, and it is here. Both these socks are actually here. So this is Ocean by the Sea yarn, and I love it. The colorway is Give Me Space, and I bought it in summer 2018. I knitted a sock in the winter. I love it, but it's in my mending pile. And so is the pair of Mondim socks, which this yarn is from, that I knitted my husband. Super simple ribbed socks with the stockinette foot, and I borrowed them, and I walked holes into both of these at very similar spots, so I guess it was my fault. So, as these are not the only broken socks in our household, also the ones I knitted from hedgehog fiber for my son, I'm gonna have a mending spree, and all of these will be in my sock knitting and mending special, which is coming to my Patreon page for the zinists. I'm gonna make a sock special, and I decided what I'll do is I'll include a little instructional video at the very end of that sock special of how I made these yoga socks. They're nothing special or complicated. All I'm gonna film is when I knit these, how I decrease and pick up, and I'm gonna, you know, add in all the information. So it's kind of like a little free pattern that I will share as part of that. I'm very excited to be doing that and to have a bit of a streamlined, more planned and organized special podcasting plan for my Patreon page, which I enjoy very much, to be a bit more organized with that this year. So the same with my zines. I'm more honest about it, that I will be making 3 per year, and I'm very excited to be working on the first. Because this is the Tink Brexit episode, I thought I'd quickly show you the little unknitting, untinking Brexit heart that I made, that I hosted with Katrin, who is Bommel and Franzen, during the Berlin Yarn Crawl. Also, to kind of conclude today's episode, I'm going to share another one of the tarot knit oracles, and this is kind of dedicated to my Tinking Brexit plan as well. I want to ask the tarot knit oracle about how many stitches we will need to unravel before Brexit gets undone, because getting Brexit done for me isn't really what this timeline should be about. It should be about it getting undone. And on that note, I will also film an unraveling of a sweater. My grandma gave me this. It's a UK yarn. I think she goes on these, well, they used to go on these boat tours or tours of the UK, and she bought it there for my granddad, but he never wore it. And she asked if one of us will wear it, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I don't think I will wear it as is, but I might unravel. Do you mind, Grandma? And Oma said, no, that's okay. So I'm gonna unravel this in the name of Brexit, and I'm gonna use the yarn to knit the macrame motif sweater by Midori Hirose, which I got to try on. Might add in a picture somehow to share me so happy in that sweater. Definitely, and the right weight to make an over oversized sweater. I'm going to film that for you probably tonight with this bright light, so that I can share that and put that at the very end as my knit reportage. I'm going to show and share how to reclaim that sweater as my knit reportage. So now I'm going to look on my list because I've got to go off to work. Yes, so you can stay around for both the Tarot Knit Oracle and the knit reportage of unraveling a nice sweater, this sweater, at the very end. I hope you enjoyed this relatively short episode, and I would have edited in a bit of visual glimpses here and there. I wanted to say thank you so much for spending time with me and finding me here in this big internet. I know there's so many amazing podcasters and places to find. I'm very much looking forward to teaching podcasting, zine making and careful knitting at the Swiss Yarn Fest this month, and I will keep you posted. I reckon that will be the knit reportage next time when I upload a video early March. And yes, I'm excited to find out what the Tarot Knit Oracle says about how many stitches we need to unravel before Brexit gets undone. On that note, it's best to say goodbye so that I can carry on, and I hope you can carry on as well. Let's not be disheartened by things that weigh us down, but let's look at ways of how to unravel them. See you soon, my lovelies.